Hey readers and writers, today I want to talk to you about my top 5 tips for finishing your book. As some of you may know, I'm in the final stages of finishing my next novel, which is centered around a character named Dyson. It doesn't have a title yet. I keep throwing out potential titles on my Instagram and seeing what people like, but I'm still undecided. I am also about 20,000 words into my next manuscript, which center around 2 characters from my first novel, Magic Required, Cam and Nemo. So I sat down and thought about the top 5 things that are going to help me finish my draft, and I want to share them with you. Number 1, know where you're going. So sorry to the pantsers out there, but you gotta have some structure. If you don't know where you're going, how will you ever know where the end is? And when I say structure, I mean like a really, really little. You don't have to have that much. I suggest 5 key points. The inciting incident, where the action starts to rise, some form of indecision in your characters, where shit starts to get really real, and the climax. If you have those 5 points, you have a lot of direction on where your story is going. My favorite tool to use is the story arc, and you can find a version of that on my website with those 5 plot points and just spaces to fill them out so you can have a general idea. Another thing I do, which is kind of like a bonus tip in this tip, is that whenever I get stuck on something, I continue to fill out that story arc with the things I've already written and the things I'd like to write. That doesn't mean you have to stick to it. Just have a plan so you kind of know where you're going. If you diverge from it, print off another story arc and write it out again. That's totally fine. Just have some direction. Number 2, don't be afraid to write out of order. One of the first scenes that I ever wrote from my Dyson novel was the ending. And I'm totally fine with that. Maybe that ending will stay, maybe it won't, but it's there. The words are on the page, so I have something to work with. A blank page is super intimidating. A page with words on it, even if it's trash, I can still do something with it. So don't be afraid to write out of order. You don't have to start at the beginning and work your way through. Start at the beginning if you want to. Work your way through. But if you see a fight scene, if you have a conversation already, write that and then connect all the dots later. The most important thing is getting words on the page. So as long as you're doing that, you're getting through your first draft. Number 3, stop world building. Even if you might go back to it at some point, stop for now. Take a little breather. What is the purpose of this amazing world that you're creating if you have no story to go in it? Once you have the general structure of your world, once you have the bare bones that your characters will actually need, stop it. Write the story and keep world building as you go. If you get to a certain point and you think you need to go back to world building to figure out the next bit of the story, give yourself a bit of a time limit. Okay, I'm gonna world build for 3 weeks, for a month, for 2 months, whatever it is, give it to yourself and stick to it. The story is more important than the world. Because at a certain point, I don't know if this is a hot take, your world building is you procrastinating. Tip number 4, create some designated writing time. I know this is something that's super easy to say and really hard to follow through with, but if you never make time for yourself to write, you're probably never going to be able to sit down and write your novel. And in that time, if inspiration doesn't strike, if you're at a loss for what you should be writing, don't world build. Write about your characters. Where are they going to end up? Maybe write some arcs for their development through your story. I'm going to have a video about how to develop stronger characters coming up, but there are already some tools on my website that you can use. Once you know your characters a little bit better, it might be easier to figure out what to write in your designated writing time. Even if it's just a conversation that they might have with each other, maybe that conversation will end up in your novel, maybe it won't, but I'm pretty sure it will influence their decisions or at least let you know what makes them tick. And if you know how your characters tick, you'll better know how they'll respond to the situations you're putting them in. So create some designated writing time, work on your story or work on your characters. I also have some writer's block tools on my website, so I hope that those will be of use to you if you get stuck in your designated writing time and don't know what to write about. Tip number 5, and this is the lamest one. I hate to give this to you guys, but tip number 5 is keep writing. I am so sorry, but you just gotta grind it out. You just have to do it. It's not gonna feel good all the time. Sometimes it's gonna feel really, really sucky and that you're just vomiting garbage up onto the page. Do it anyways. You've got to get through this draft because if you don't get through it, you can't fix it. It doesn't have to be perfect now. It just has to be done. For my Cam Nemo novel, I have about 20,000 words and structure. That's it. Why? Because I haven't created the designated writing time for it, and I haven't just kept writing. I mean, I haven't done that because I've been working on my Dyson novel, but still, if I had created the designated writing time for that novel, I would be further along by now. I just haven't. And a bonus tip for you guys, this is something that I use like even up to my final drafts, the underscore. I just skip things. The underscore is like a more specific skip, like if I don't have a word for something, or I don't know somebody's name yet, or I don't know a place they're going, or a conversation that they're going to be referring to. I just underscore, move on. It's a cue to me that it's a blank that I need to fill in a later draft. I have completed many a first draft that was full of underscores, which is totally fine because the story is there. Also, as you're working through your draft, just as I said, you don't need to write in order. You can skip things. Don't be afraid to skip a scene, write down some general notes. Okay, here their conversation is gonna be ABC because I already know XYZ and I wanna write that scene now. Totally fine. Do whatever you need to do, skip whatever you need to skip to get to the end, then go back to the beginning, work your way through and fill in those blanks. They don't have to be full on your second draft. You can keep going through. That's the beauty of writing a novel. Once you finish your first draft, you have so much to work with. It's just that you gotta grind out this first draft. I hope these tips were helpful for you. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you have any requests of what you'd like me to cover, please leave them in the comment section. How far are you guys in your current manuscript? What are you working on? Tell me some stuff. Anyways, keep writing, and if you're drinking as much coffee as me, drink some water because you're probably dehydrated.